So today I'm going to show you how to debug and add interfaces to your Pico on your phone using the Blue Electronics application. So, but before I do that, we're going to use the example of PWM to control a servo. So let me show you how everything's connected. So we have the GP15 for PWM connected to a three-pin header for the servo, and the header is signal, power, the middle, and then ground with a capacitor. This is, I believe, is a 10 microfarad capacitor. Can't see it from here. This is just to help filter the signal, the power a little bit because it gets pretty noisy with the servo. We have a regulator, 5-volt regulator, so the output voltage is coming straight to the header. It has a 12-volt input and ground. This is just a diode. Is there just to help me connect with the alligator clips. The grounds are connected all around. This is the only 12-volt rail. This one is 3.3 coming from this unit. This is the HM11. HM17 is the same, so you can connect either of the two. They're connected to the UART0, GP16 and 17, and obviously 3.3 volts and ground. Reset button, and the voltage and ground coming from the unit. Right here, I'll be showing you the PWM signal, and then obviously we'll have the servo moving back and forth. So let me show you the code and what you need to communicate with the phone. So this is a very simple code. This is mostly the same example they have on their documentation for PWM. The C make list is the standard one. Everything is the same. It has the libraries we need and the file with the code. Everything else is the same. This is there because this is C++. In the main file, we're using GP15 for PWM, so you have to specify the function of it is PWM. Then you get the slice for pin 15. And now that you have that, you can set up the clock division. For controlling servos, it has to be a 20 millisecond period. So the processor is running at 123 megahertz. If you divide it by 123, you get a million. So one click per microsecond, which is what we want. And then you specify the top, or when it starts counting again, at 20,000. So 20 milliseconds, right? Or yeah, 20 milliseconds. And then you set the level. The servo can be controlled by outputting a signal between 500 microseconds. I'm sorry, 500 microseconds and 2500 microseconds. So 15 is the middle. And then you enable it. This is just to turn on the LED so we know the unit loaded. And so that's all. If we load it, we load that example. Let me connect the. So let me switch, compile and switch. So when I load it, you will see it in the oscilloscope at the top. Obviously, I need to connect it first. So let me connect that port. Connect it to ground. And then connect it to the signal pin. We'll connect it right here. Okay. So you can see the signal at the top. The divisions are 500 microseconds. There's 3 divisions, so that's 1500 microseconds. So that means that if we connect this one, let me rotate it. Right, so if we connect it, it should go right to the middle. So this is the side. And obviously we'll go to the middle once I give it power. So let me connect the 12 volt line. Where is it? All right, it's gonna get full of cables now. So here's the ground. It doesn't have any power yet. And voltage. So let me give it voltage. And there it is, it went right to the middle. So that's PWM, right? So now how can we use the Blue Electronics application to control this? Let me rotate this a little. Like that. So let's go back to the code and let's add a class. This is code that we added on the previous examples. So we don't have anything yet. We'll get, the classes are here. This will be, the link for the download will be in the description. So this is the one we need, but we're gonna add everything, just the entire folder. So we'll drop it and say copy. And now that we have it, we can go to CMake lists, add it here, hm11.h. And that one uses the hardware UART. So now we can go to main and add it. We also add the communications HM11, and we'll create an instance of HM11, call it phone. This one takes a UART port. The port we're using is this one here, UART0. Okay, so that's the one we want. It takes the baud rate, it's 9600 by default. The TX line, it's GP17. This one right here. So just 17, not GP, just 17. And also the RX, I'm sorry, 16. And RX is 17. Once we have that, we can tell the phone to look to see if we got any data. So get data, if there's any. And then we'll add a check or an if statement to see if the phone has a new message. And if we do have a new message, then we can parse the message. Phone parse command. And now we can check what type of message we got. So we can use the string compare, and we use the phone field name. And let's just call the field name capital X, okay, for this one. Very simple. So if we have it, it'll be 0. And if we do, then we'll now here, the idea is that you are going to send a command. So I'm going to send a command from the phone with the field name X, and it's going to have a value. So I can use that value to modify the duty cycle of PWM. So instead of 1500, now I can just say phone field value, right? Pretty simple. So that's it. That's all you need to send data, to receive data. And depending on how many fields, then you can check for that many fields, and then you can execute code depending on the field you get. So now let's go to the phone. And so this is the application, Blue Electronics. And you can have your profiles ready to go. We're gonna create a new one. To start, we're just gonna add a console to tell us, make sure that everything is connected correctly. So it'll tell you if you're connected. It'll also see the messages being sent that way and coming back. So first thing is you connect. So I'll list the devices. This is the one we want. Right? Those are the 3 settings you set, and then you are connected. Now there's nothing going on because I'm not sending data, but I'm going to send data that way, and then this is going to move. So I'm going to use a slider, make it really big, move it as well. Double tap on it, and I'm going to put the limits on it. The servo can move between 2500 and 500. So I'll use the limit of minimum 500 and the upper to 2500. The field value we said we were going to send. So right now, if I move this, you can see this is what it's sending, VA at the limiter and the value, right? That's the upper value, the lower value. But that doesn't do anything because it's looking for the field X. So if we change this to X and say, okay, now when I move it, it doesn't work. The reason it doesn't work is because, again, I compiled the code, but I didn't load it. So let me load it. Keep doing that all the time. All right, so let's see. So you can see it on the servo. You can also see it up there, right there. All right, so you can see the signal going back and forth. So I could also add a button. Let me make it big, and let me put it, let me call it center, and let me put it at 50 font. So now it's that big. So when I press it, it sends click 1, but that's not what we want. So what we're gonna send is we're gonna send the command, the field name X, and the value, let's put it right in the middle. So let's say 1500. Right, so it's all the way at the top or right in the middle, all the way at the bottom or right in the middle. See what this one has. Okay. So those are the things that you can do. Also, data coming back. You can get data coming back and make this stuff uh, show, display the status or act on it as well. So this button, the slider doesn't have anything, but the button does. So the button, this is what it sends, but you can also change it back, send it back to the button, and you can change the title of the button. So this button is looking for FB. We can just call it button. Anything we want, right? And that's what it says right now. Click the default value. So when we click it, actually we're gonna change the type of message here. So we'll call it B. So now when I press it, nothing happens. But let's go to the code and let me switch it. So we're gonna copy these lines. And now we're gonna look for B. And if B comes in, we'll change the field, the channel level to whatever value we're getting, but we're also going to change the name of the button on the phone. So all we have to do is just send the message back. And we said it was going to be named button for the button label. So uppercase B, button, the delimiter, and then we'll give it a name. So we don't have to put anything, we'll just put a name here. So we'll put, you know, let's call it active, right? Return. But also when we change the value through here, we'll change it to not active or just NA, okay, not A. So let's compile that code. So when we send data through the slider or the X, it's going to change the name of the button to not A. But when we send data through the button, it'll change the button title to active. So let's compile again. Oh, forgot this one too. Okay, let me switch back to the phone. This time, let me reset it. Let me move it over a little bit so you can see the LED when it turns on. That means that it's ready to go. So let me drop the file. Okay. So now if I move this, that will change, this will change. See, 98. But if I press it, active. So you can see that you can get data between the two. So you could add an interface and save it. So if I wanted to save this one, obviously this is not a good interface, but we'll call it X, Y, and Z, or this one. And you can also take a picture of your device, so it'll be saved with your profile. And I'll save it. So now when I close it and open it again, it'll be on my list of devices. I didn't take a picture, so that's why it has the default one. So if I go here, I have the original one. It connects automatically. It works, right? So you could have unlimited interfaces for your projects to communicate back and forth as long as you add a Bluetooth communication that can send text between the phone and your device. So those are some of the controls. Obviously, you can copy any of those profiles by just dropping the name here and selecting one that you already have, and it'll just load it for you. So let's see. So that's for my Yamaha quick shifter. Right, so it has the layout. So let me close it again, open it from scratch. Let's look at some of the controls. So we have that one there. This one has multiple bars, so you can display it whenever you want. It has an upper value, middle value, and the bottom. And this one just shows whenever this one is at. So whenever you get data. To change the fields, you double tap on it, and then you have all the settings there. Everything is a field name, so you can change that field name to whatever you want. You can specify the delimiter you're going to get, and then the default value if you need one. Right? If you want to delete it, just double tap and delete it. You can use you can put as many controls, even the same controls. Size them, move them. And again, they all have their own individual settings. Some of them have more than others. We have here one that, and they can be sized as well. So like this one, it doesn't stretch. You need to size it here. You put the font size, the width, the height, and all of that because it has multiple properties. But most of them can send and receive. All of them can send data. So that's, you can type a value there and then press update and it'll send it. So you could have a text box, big one. You can type a whole message and just send it and it'll go. You have the slider, which is the one I was demoing. It has the maximum, minimum range, the value, and then the data going back to whatever the device is connected to. It also has the, if you have difficulty connecting where it may be a noisy environment, you can have it send the same message multiple times and you specify how long to wait in milliseconds per message. So for instance, if I put this button here, let me clear the whole thing. So if I put this message, this button there, and I put a console, and the message I'm going to send is click 1. So when I press it, it says click 1. But if I want to send it multiple times because of communication issues, I can say send it 10 times, 10 milliseconds, and it sends the message multiple times. So it goes to the unit. Okay, so so that's the button. The button as well has multiple properties. I already saw that, display that one. The console itself, you can specify how many lines you want to keep in the buffer. So as it scrolls all the way to the top, you can have 100 lines, 1,000 lines. It's up to you, how much memory you want to use on the phone. Also, how many lines are visible here. So if I say I want 50 lines visible, obviously it's going to make everything really small so that you can display the 50 lines. Or, if I put 5, then it makes everything really big. So, you can display, and obviously it scrolls all the way to the right. So if you have long messages, there won't be an issue. Put them back to 15. You can set the size. Let's put 400, 600, and then there's your new console. Right, and obviously, the bigger you make it, the bigger the text as well. But you can adjust that by simply changing this part. So if I go to 20, then it'll make it smaller, and you can adjust it however you want. Okay. The big label, obviously that's not big, but you change it here. So if I specify 60, now we have a big label, right? And the label has a status. So this is the title, this is the status, and that would be something to use, like if you want to send a message back from your unit saying, the ADC at what level it is, it's 3 volts, 4 volts, whatever it is, or the whatever the temperature might be. You may change the title to say temp, and then you can specify the field. So call it temp as well, and then the value will come in, and then it'll put it there. Right? This would be the field value, or the white part. So if you're getting a lot of data and when you want to display it, then that's this part, right? So now I changed it to temp. There's nothing there. If I want it wider, this one, I can say 300, and now I have a lot more space to bring data in when I send it back, or when I bring it back. So let's send some data back so we can see. We'll just send the counter. Let's go back to the code, and we'll add a counter, and we'll send a message. So phone sent message. Let's call it, I guess let's call it counter. Okay, and this other limiter, that's the one I'm looking for, and out loud is just a number, and it's the control return at the end to tell the phone that this is the end of the command. And then you add your counter, increase it by 1, and it's going to go really fast. So let's see what we get. Let's compile. Okay, let's go back so you can see what I'm going to do. So I'm going to reset this. I'm going to drop it. There's the light. This thing click. There's no connection right now, obviously, so let's connect. And now we're getting data. You can see the counter's already going. Now let's display it on this little label. So let me make this smaller. And let's display it on this label. And we said that the field was gonna be named counter, all lowercase. And we'll say OK. And now we're displaying the data. Obviously that's too big, so let's make it a little bit smaller. 40. And the width is way too big as well, so make it 200, and there it is. You can see that two consoles receive all the data, so they get all the data coming in and going out. So it helps you debug a lot easier to see the messages you're sending. Make sure you're sending the right messages, and also it helps you see the messages you are getting, so you can see the field name and then you can apply it to your controls. Okay, so pretty neat. And obviously that one is the same as that other one where it just displays data. Um, so that's about it. Pretty simple application. You can download it from the App Store, and then you can debug it. If you have any questions or any difficulties, or you want a feature added, let me know. I'll be happy to add it. Enjoy. Oh, and obviously these files will be, especially the classes to communicate, will be in the link for you to download. All right. Thank you for watching.